So EA dropped a huge bomb on the NCAA football community and honestly the world. I mean, they just dropped an absolute bomb. They are coming out with a new college football video game. Finally, after 8 years, they have finally made it known that this game is still alive. This is a good day. This is a victory for just football fans in general. I mean, college football really is the heart of football. NFL is king, but college football, it gets everybody going. Whether you're a mom in the stands, whether you're a dad that's proud of your kid playing college football, whether you're just a little kid hoping to play on Saturdays, I mean, college football is back. And now back on the virtual systems here on PS5 and Xbox Series X. And today I just want to talk about a little wish list, 10 things that Dynasty will, I hope, get in there in the first iteration. Now, I'm not going to talk about huge wish list items where like I'm hoping that they have the transfer portal and things like that. It's going to be something that's realistic in the first iteration of the game. Whenever that comes out, it's probably going to be 2022, 23, probably not this year. But I want to be realistic with these top 10 wish list items. And they are things that were in old games. Some were kind of forgotten about, some of these features. And let's just talk about a little bit of them. So let's just hop into this countdown. At number 10, let's just talk about dynamic Dynasty UI. Now, in each sports title game, it seems like the menus are just kind of flat. There's nothing that tells you like, hey, this is what's going on in your league right here at the home screen. Bam, I know what's going on in my conference. I know what's going on in my dynasty. I know what's going on around the NCAA. There's no way in modern games. I mean, even like 2K, for example, it doesn't really have a just menu where you can see everything going on at once right in front of you. You know, the one game that I really compare this to be honest, was the old NCAA footballs where you had the ESPN magazine and you kind of went down the menu and you kind of saw players of the week, you know, strongest conferences, the Heisman race, all that on a different cover. And I kind of want that. Like, you can just scroll through or maybe just on one screen, just look at all the news around the league. Madden kind of hides it on their current iteration and I don't really like it. And they kind of have the coach walking in the background. That's kind of their UI. But why not just like lay it out for everybody to see what's going on in your league, even in the online dynasty? I mean, that would be so helpful and it would just keep you immersed into the dynasty if you had one online and seeing what other guys in your dynasty will do. I mean, it's a small little start there. I mean, UIs are really essential in honestly software as a whole. I mean, you want your stuff to look good, and just having a dynamic dynasty UI where you just have quick updates on what's going on, I think that would go a long way. Now, number 9, the spring game. Spring game is such a big part of college football at every level. And back in the old NCAA football games, they had the spring game. And honestly, it was fun. It was a lot of fun because at that point, you didn't really know who's going to be, you know, a starter. Your seniors had graduated. Now you're looking at, you know, redshirt sophomores and freshmen that are now starting to really move up on the depth chart. You really want to see what they have versus their own team. And practice doesn't really get it done because you don't really have like an in-game scenario type of deal. And spring games are essential. I mean, just have the spring game rules in where offense, you get points for first downs and touchdowns, and defense, you get points for stops and turnovers. And I just like that, you know, system of getting to know the game in real time rather than just practicing and seeing different plays and how they run. I think that spring game will definitely be something that they'll have to bring back. And I wouldn't think that's a big deal to bring back at all. It's not really a big feature. It's just another game. So let's get to number 8, fully customizable recruiting classes and a new recruiting system. Now, I don't know what this would look like, but fully customizable recruiting classes mean from top to bottom, I can edit all of my high school recruits in a recruiting class, and I can edit their gear, edit names, where they're from, everything like that, anything you would want, just like how in NBA 2K, you can create a draft class and you can do all that stuff in Madden as well. It's maybe not as deep or you can, you know, put together stories or anything like that, but that would be a start. Just being able to create a full customizable recruiting class, that would go a very long way with the community. And we already know college football revamped. They've been doing a hell of a job with creating rosters and things like that. But how about putting that into the recruiting system? That would be awesome. Now, let's just talk about recruiting, though. In NCAA 14, recruiting was entirely too easy. You know, the low lock cheese where you are halfway through the season and you go after a recruit that nobody's going after. They need to get rid of that. They need to get rid of, any type of interest you can see visibly. Honestly, I think they just need a team of people to come together, come up with some ideas. I don't really have a whole lot of ideas off the top of my head. I think the calling system worked back in like 13, 12, and 11, but I think that maybe even that may be a little too much. Maybe even having like a recruiting difficulty where you get to choose the type of recruiting you have. That would be something as well. Now let's go to the next item here. How about create a school? I mean, this is just essential for this upcoming game. If they're not going to have team builder where you build it online, create a school is definitely something that they will have to have. And even with that, I think that even making some type of vault where you get to upload schools, you get to upload rosters, upload recruiting classes, I think that would go a very long way. And I think that, that's really essential in next gen games and even current gen games where they have vaults. MLB The Show has a logo vault. They have a roster vault as well. They have the player likeness vault, all that stuff. And NBA 2K has the same thing as well. And Madden does too. So I think that, putting that into the game, it won't be a big ask, but it's definitely going to be something. In order for, creators like myself to share rosters, share teams, share players, that will go a very long way. Now, next item let's get to here is player progression, potential, and discipline. Now, in the off-season training in NCAA 14, that's the only time you really get player progression. And in season, the only time you really see any type of progression is with awareness. You'll see awareness go up +1 a couple of games or +2, +3 sometimes. And it's really inconsistent, and also you don't really know that it's happening. If you don't check the roster throughout the season, you don't even know that your guys are progressing throughout the season. And that's where that potential rating comes in. Like the old NCAA footballs used to have potential and discipline. And honestly, you would recruit guys who, have good potential and good discipline. If they have high potential and low discipline, you might stay away from them because you do not want to get hit with an infraction back in those old games and then have to result in a bowl ban, a scholarship ban, whatever the case may be. I think that bringing something like that back would definitely be a big feature in an upcoming game because, just think about it. That stuff was done with in NCAA 14. It was nowhere to be found. Everybody really trained in the offseason at the same rate. I think that that's something that maybe can be put into the game and honestly added back into the game because it was once there and now it's gone. So the next wish list item I have here is staffs and facilities. Now, I want to talk about this briefly, and not a lot of games have this right now, and it's really the ability for players to train, do things like lift weights, work with the trainer, and have an ability to upgrade facilities and staff to allow your players to progress at a certain rate. So let's say, for example, in NCAA basketball 10, you do have facilities you can upgrade, and with each facility upgrade will boost an attribute. So it'll either be like 3-point shooting, outside shooting, or rebounding, or fitness, or whatever the case may be. Upgrading facilities will help your team overall. I think that is a big time feature that they should add in the game. And I don't know if it'll make it in the first iteration, but it's something that could be there and could be helpful when building teams. Everybody likes a good rebuild. They like to start out terrible and then build their team up. How about upgrading facilities to help with that and not have it be too overpowering? And then with staffs, you get to, honestly hire staff, hire a trainer that will help recover from injury faster, hire offensive coordinators that will help your quarterbacks more. If you're a bad recruiter with running backs, hire a running backs coach that will help your running backs. It doesn't have to be a full coaching staff, but certain position coaches and trainers and things like that will definitely help in building a really deep dynasty. Now, the next item I want to get to here is All-American and All-Star games. So All-Star games have really been a big part of high school and college football. If you think about it, the All-American, the Army All-American game, the Under Armour All-American game, having it so recruits can play in that game would be huge. And then you get to see some of the top guys. And if you're one of those schools, like say, for example, you have a Dynasty with Georgia, and you have some recruits that were going to Florida that didn't commit to you, you get to see a preview of what you have to see in the future. I mean, that would be amazing. And then even at the college level, just think about the Senior Bowl and how big of a spectacle that is each year. I mean, having some guys that you just got done playing 4 years with finally get to play in a final college game in the Senior Bowl before they move on to Madden. I'm pretty sure they're going to have exporting your senior class or your draft class into Madden. Right? I mean, that's pretty much a gimme. I wouldn't think that they would build a game without that. So I'm not really going to mention that, but having like an all-star game where you get to see, for the last time, some of your guys and some of the high school prospects as well coming into college, that would be pretty cool. Now, my next item is going to be a bowl selection show, and this isn't really a needed feature. It would just be a nice to have feature. And honestly, this is basically just to make the mode feel like you are in it. And, there's older Maddens like the Tony Bruno show. Remember that? That was amazing. And things like the Heisman Trophy presentation in the old NCAA football PS2 and Xbox iterations. I mean, that type of thing just made it just a little sweeter to play the game, to look at stats, to check team stats, to check player stats, to check on the Heisman race. Things like that really did make you, want to be involved in your dynasty. And having a bowl selection show where you get to be, get to wait your turn and get to see who's matching up against who and have a little brief description of what this team leads in and what this team's bad at and all that, and have a preview of each game. That would be amazing, and that would allow you to really be, like I said, just invested in your own dynasty. So next item I want to get to here is dynamic CPU depth chart changes. Now, this is an interesting one, because if you play the old PS2 NCAA football games, if you are getting blown out, the CPU puts in their second stringers and their third stringers. Now, that does not happen in modern games. 2K, it might happen, but in Madden and NCAA 14 in specific, when a team is blowing you out, they still have their starters in. So if you're getting blown out in Madden by 50 points by Patrick Mahomes is still in the game. They're not going to put anybody else in. They're going to keep Patrick Mahomes in. But that, that's just not realistic. And seeing CPU depth chart changes where they're pretty dynamic in the old NCAA football games, if the starting quarterback threw 3 interceptions, they're pulling him. He's not going to play for the rest of the game. They're putting in their backup. That's what I want to be brought back into this game. And also, I want that to be expanded outside of you playing the game. So, for example, if you have a team in your conference and they have a struggling quarterback, I want to see that struggling quarterback may be overall better than the backup, but because they're losing, because they're doing bad, you see the backup get a chance as well. That would just be amazing. And it would also add a little bit of a storyline, to everybody's series, and really just give people a reason to cover other teams other than their own. I think that will really, really be huge. Now, I kind of coupled in 10 items here, but the roster vault and the recruiting system, I kind of pushed that into one feature, but I do want to just reiterate how important the vault would be. I mean, the vault is going to be something that's very, very big, especially with recruiting classes, having that fully customized and then having rosters. And if they're not going to, they already said they're going to include over 100 official teams. We'll have to see exactly what that means. Is it going to be all FBS schools? Is it going to be some FCS schools? Will it be Division 2, maybe 3? We have no idea, but I'm honestly excited for it, but they need to make it shareable. That's the thing. We need to be able to share teams, share classes, share recruiting classes. It's going to be interesting to see what they come up with. Now, I'm kind of nervous a little bit, to be honest, because will this be like Madden? I mean, that is the main question that everybody is asking. Will this be like Madden? I'm not sure. But if it's anything like it used to be, NCAA 14 was different than Madden at that time. It just played different. It just felt different. Something was different about it, and they didn't make it so that they were exactly the same. So I'm hoping that happens this time around, and we'll have to see. I mean, the community has spoken so far. Everybody is excited, and I can tell there's a little bit of nervousness, but I don't know. We'll have to see. This is going to be a 2-year project, probably at minimum, and I don't know how long they've been working on it. It's in the beginning stages, obviously, but we'll have to see. I think 2022 is a good year for this to come out, and they have to do a lot of work. It's a ton of work. I'm a software developer. I know how it is. This is going to be at least a 1.5 to a 3-year project just to get it out the door, and hopefully they don't rush it at all. They need to be able to put out a good product. I know they're going to put a lot of time into Ultimate Team. You already know that. Road to Glory is going to be back. But I just want to talk strictly Dynasty in this video. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comment section what features you guys want to see. I left out a ton of them. I know I did. But I want to put in a few features into this video that could probably make the first edition of this, I should say, relaunched college football game by EA. I'm excited. I hope you guys are too. I hope you liked the video. Hit subscribe, hit that like button. Stay tuned for more. Let's get it. Let's go.
Yeah. Started from the mud, now you see us going up. Numbers never lie, now you see us blowing up. People used to front, now you see them showing up. So what's up? I've been down and out below. Keep it a buck, I don't. Always been one up on all of these. They be trying to front for all of these.